Remember when Kristen Bell announced on Twitter that this movie was happening? It was like 4.5 years ago. Yeah. And now we're here. Frozen 2. So Frozen 2, Disney's sequel to 2013's mega hit Frozen, a movie I do not hide the fact that I love. So you bet I was looking forward to this movie. It was one of my most anticipated movies of this year. Frozen 2 takes place 3 years after the events of Frozen. Queen Elsa of Arendelle and her sister Princess Anna have grown closer together, and it seems like things are fine, but Elsa's hearing this voice. She feels like something is calling out to her. And the kingdom of Arendelle is attacked by these strong winds that are somehow connected to whatever's calling out to Elsa. Something's going on. So now Elsa, Anna, and the rest of the crew, Kristoff, Sven, and Olaf, they had to venture out into the unknown, and along the way, secrets of their past are uncovered, and so now, here we go, Frozen 2. And yeah, like I said, I love Frozen 1. I dare call myself, I'm a Frozen fan, and really, so is most of the world. So this movie had some pretty big shoes to fill, and I'm not gonna keep you in suspense. I really enjoyed it. Can I just gush about Elsa for a bit? Because I don't think I'm supposed to have a crush on an animated character who doesn't exist. Yeah, needless to say, Elsa's probably become one of my favorite Disney characters of this generation. And yeah, partially it's because she's voiced by Idina Menzel, and I've been a huge fan of hers since Wicked, but also it's because she's just awesome. If you loved her in the first movie, you'll love her in this one. She has quite a few more action scenes where she's using her ice powers and, blocking stuff off. That's always cool to see, but deep down, she is struggling with her place in the world, really. Because she's the queen of a kingdom, but she has ice powers for a reason, and it's a reason that is bigger than just her. There's a bigger story here. Elsa having to deal with that does not do too well for Princess Anna, voiced once again by Kristen Bell. Man, does she go through a lot in this movie. Because she and Elsa, they have their differences to the point where Elsa doesn't feel like she can tell Anna everything, but Anna wants Elsa to tell her everything because they're sisters. But that's just what their personalities are, Elsa's always been that closed-off type. So it's really cool to see that relationship evolve after the events of the first movie. That is pretty much front and center here, and I thought it was really well done. However, that does leave some of the other supporting characters out in the cold. Take Kristoff, for example, voiced once again by Jonathan Groff. His story arc in this movie, I liked it enough, it was fine, but it just does not get a lot of focus. That might be bothersome to some people, but full transparency, I wasn't excited for this movie because of Kristoff. I was excited because we get to see more of Anna and Elsa, so I was totally fine with Kristoff taking kind of a back seat in this movie. And of course, Olaf, voiced once again by Josh Gad. In Frozen 1, he's funny and good enough, of a character, but he was always borderline annoying, at least to me, and in this movie, he did cross that line a couple times, which I honestly was expecting after that last part of the last trailer where he's just screaming and the camera's following him. I was like, okay, so Olaf is probably gonna be more annoying in this movie, to me anyway, than he was in the first one, and he was. Only a few times. I mean, there were other points where he did make me laugh out loud. So, it's give and take with Olaf. Alright, now that I've talked about the characters, let's dive into the movie. Now, because I am so attached to the first Frozen movie, and because I love it so much, I love the characters, I love the music and all that, that did play a big part in my experience in this movie. Because for a large chunk of it, I was just sitting on the edge of my seat because I care so much about the characters. I wanted them to be okay and make it through this adventure in one piece. That's just the filter through which I watched this movie. I love these characters. Why? Because I loved them in the first movie. Why should I stop loving them now? That just wouldn't make any sense. I will say the story in this movie does get kind of complex. Maybe a little too complex for kids, which, let's be honest, is the movie's intended target demographic. But even I, about like 75% through the movie, I had to be like, wait, what's the story again? What's going where? Oh, okay, yeah, okay, I got it. There's a lot of information you have to retain. Questions are being asked, questions are being answered, revelations are happening, and it's a lot to remember, and it's a lot to sink in. I don't think kids are gonna leave the theater understanding everything that happened in this movie, but they'll still like it because Anna and Elsa and Olaf and the music. If I could give you a piece of advice, it is do not listen to the soundtrack before you see the movie, because that's what I did. I avoided the soundtrack like the plague, and I am so glad I did, because it just made the song's emotional impact in the movie when I saw it that much more impactful. And yeah, for the most part, the songs are great. They're awesome. For the most part. Of course, Elsa has another showstopper. Actually, she has two showstoppers in this movie, and they're both awesome. Anna has an emotional song, Olaf has a funny song. But now we come to the thing I like the least about this movie, and that would be Kristoff's song. And again, I'm not gonna spoil anything, I'm not gonna spoil what the song's about, just in case you don't know. And look, the song itself is fine, I can listen to it on any given day with my headphones, and it's good. What I didn't like is the context in which it was used in this movie. The scene that is Kristoff's song was so jarring, so out of place, so different from everything we've seen in Frozen 1 and 2 that I just cannot deny that it brought the movie down by just that much for me. I do intend to watch this movie again, and I intend to watch it here at home, but it's one of those things where whenever I'm watching it here at home, I'm gonna skip this scene. And whenever I'm listening to the soundtrack, I might skip that song. The message of the song is fine enough, it's just the way it was executed was so just out of left field. I was like, oh, we're going here now. That's random, and not in a good way. But honestly, that scene is my biggest glaring issue with the movie. The rest of it, I thought was pretty good. And this is where I have to admit a problem that I've been having recently. You know, I've seen some reviews for this movie, and the general consensus is that it's fine, but it's not as good as the first one. And while I may agree that it's not as good as the first one, I think it's better than fine. I think it's a pretty solid movie. My problem is that I don't want to feel guilty for having this opinion about Frozen 2. Like, I fear I'm gonna look down in the comments of this video and see some people being like, you actually like this movie? What's wrong with you, dude? Like, I'll be looked down on because I like this movie. Even though I know that, yeah, opinions are subjective. We're all entitled to our own opinions, and I shouldn't care what other people think, and I don't really. Basically, what I'm saying is that I really like this movie, and if you don't like that about me, tough, because I can only be honest. And it's not like this is the only movie that's gotten some unfavorable reviews that I liked, and nor will it be the last. So that concludes that tangent. In the end, Frozen 2 is out now, it is among us, and in my opinion, the characters are still great, very well written. The story is thoroughly intriguing, if not a little too complex for kids, but I'm not a kid, so I liked it. The songs are fantastic. For the most part, I'm gonna be listening to this movie's soundtrack for a good long while. And the cold hard fact is that I cannot wait to watch this movie again. It's not gonna get a perfect score, but for Frozen 2, I will definitely say, go see this movie while it's in theaters. So Frozen 2, have you seen it yet? What did you think about it? And what is your favorite song on the soundtrack? Mine? Well, I'll tell you in a week when I do a spoiler talk. But whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.